Carlos Cruz served in the U.S. Navy from 1988 to 2000. He earned a bachelor's degree from the University of Phoenix in 2008. His career experience includes including working as a licensed real estate agent in California with a technology based on consulting company, also creative marketing and communication company. Carlos Cruz is running for election to the California State Assembly. I believe it's District 28. He is on the ballot in the general election November 3rd, 2020. He advanced from the primary election on March 3rd, 2020. So now let's welcome Carlos Cruz to give us a speech on Proposition 16 influence Latinos. Let's welcome Carlos Cruz.
Thank you, Melissa. I appreciate that. And thank you very much for having me on this webinar itself. Before I start, I want everyone to know who's watching this is that you are not the minority, okay? They are. Now, the only catch is that you have to vote to show them that you're not the minority. Prop 16 is one of the worst things to come out of Sacramento, and there are a lot of bad things that are coming out of Sacramento. Prop 16 is basically a bunch of lies. There are a lot of things that they're telling you that is a twisting of the truth. They're telling you their version of what the truth is because they control the speech. They control the conversation. What's important to know is that they know what affirmative action does, and it doesn't help the minority groups here in California. They do not help the Africans. They do not help the Spanish-speaking communities. It's not going to help the Asians. It's not going to help anyone for the most part, and they know this. And if I can just, to prove a point, one of their formal magazines that they all adore, The Atlantic, in 2012 wrote an article about the painful truth of affirmative action. There was one paragraph here that caught me, and you can read this online. And they stated that the student who's underprepared relative to others in that class falls behind from the start and becomes increasingly lost as the professor and his classmates race ahead. His grades on his first exam or papers put him at the bottom of the class. Worse, the experience may well induce panic and self-doubt, making learning even harder. So why do I bring this up? Because as mentioned before, our lower education, our K through 12s, for majority of schools, they suck. Plain and simple, there is no way to put it. It is basically criminal on a lot of these schools that there's no education going on. And we need these children to become adults, to become functioning adults that can compete in the marketplace. And they cannot, many of them cannot do it with the kind of education that they're getting right now. So what does the government do? What do these leftists do who believe that they can create a utopia by adopting Marxist and socialist programs that have failed everywhere that they tried? They've even failed before the birth of Marx. And yet they still believe that they can even the playing field. How they believe they can even the playing field is by bringing everyone down. This has been proven in East Germany during the Cold War. There was basically no freedoms whatsoever, no freedom of speech. Education was the same. You're given the basics if you're giving that. And we do not want that here in California. California is a great state. We have great people here. We have great minds. We have great resources. We have great innovation. Just imagine the equivalence of Silicon Valley spread throughout the state. That is possible with the right vision, right leadership that we have in local governments and also in Sacramento itself. It is very important that you, your neighbors, your friends, ensure that we vote no on Prop 16 for the future of California, but not only for that, the future of the children that are growing up here in California. A lot of people are leaving California. There are many reasons why. The education system is one of them. The deviancies that are being taught in the schools right now are basically, I'm going to say it again, criminal to a certain extent of what's being allowed here. What the teachers, We have to find a way to support the teachers. And if I'm elected by the people and to represent them, I will do my best to help the teachers in these schools to ensure that they're supported the way they're supposed to be as well. Our communities are going to be hurt by this if we cannot get these children who are basically supposed to be raised as adults to be competitive in the workforce. If they can't do it, incomes are not going to rise. Our lower schools, K through 12s, they're not going to improve. And keep in mind, because they can't improve the schools that we have in K through 12, they're just going to push them through the higher education learning systems. So basically what we have is extended high school. We're going to have a lot of teachers, a lot of professors in these schools, they're going to leave. So we're going to have a brain drain here in California sooner or later. There's going to be pockets like Silicon Valley where there's a ton of money here and they can just keep on buying great talent. But what about the other places that are outside of LA, Modesto, outside of Sacramento, Northern California, way North California, Southern California? These places are going to hurt the most. And Prop 16 is just one law that Sacramento is using to get their tentacles into every aspect of our lives. Notice what the law also states is that they get to choose who they are able to contract with, who they're able to make contract with. Do you really think that is going to stay there? If you learn anything about a leftist, is that whatever law they have, whatever line in the sand that they draw, they will move it later on down the road. They play the long game because they know we're the ones working. We're the ones making California run. If we would have stopped working, if we would have stopped doing what we were doing, they would have nothing, nothing at all. They exist because of us. And we have to make sure that they understand that. We need to make sure that no on Prop 16 is very important to everybody. And that I believe that the people will vote it down. But my concern is, and the reason why it's very important that I am sent to Sacramento, is I believe Sacramento will go to the courts where they know the judges there are friendly leftists, and they will try to get your no vote overturned, saying that the people don't know what they're talking about. And this is not the first time that it's happened. If it does happen, it's happened in the past, and you can search it on Google. It's there, providing it hasn't been scrubbed or hidden by Google. But for the most part, the power is within you. I'm happy to see that we have a bunch of people here today on a Saturday evening going over this, spreading the word, giving you information, giving you the knowledge that you need. Because the people that you talk about or talk to that say, yes, Prop 16, very important, they have no idea what they're talking about. They are fed a bunch of lies and they believe it, and they don't want to do the research. They don't want to think. They just want to go the easy route. And that's not us. That is not Californians. We're about innovation. If Sacramento were just to allow the people to go about their lives, to let innovation go, let the open market just go crazy within reason, there is nothing to say that we cannot be a spacefaring nation right now. We're talking about we want to try to go to Mars and the moon and every other place, and we should be there already. With Silicon Valley, with the Los Angeles area, with San Diego, those three places alone, the innovation that we have in those three places alone, plus we have all the food to be grown in the Inland Empire area, there is no reason why we cannot be traveling amongst the stars. That is our second home. That is the frontier that is awaiting for us. And there is nothing that should hold us back from that. I believe that we as Californians, we can get there faster, and we can get there first before any of the other states realize what's going on. Listen, the power is within you. I believe in you. I believe we can get this. I believe that it's going to be a no on Prop 16, and I hope that I will be sent to Sacramento to represent the people of District 28. And I'd like to thank you for inviting me here. I'm very honored to be here, to be speaking to you today. And with that, thank you very much. I'm Carlos Cruz. I'm running for Assembly District 28, and please vote for me come November 3rd. Thank you.
Thank you, Carlos Cruz. Thank you very much for a great, powerful speech. Encourage people to vote no on Proposition 16. I totally agree and support your idea. And I think I have a question for you because I was a former public school teacher for like past 12 years. You're talking about a strategy to bring funding to public school. I want to ask you what is strategy to bring the funding to public school? Also, I heard from California, Sacramento says they plan to cut the funding for public schools K-12. That is going to impact our children. If you're being elected, how are you going to find a solution to save our public schools in California?
Because I'm in the minority in Sacramento, I have to find the right alliances from both sides of the aisles. People who are rational in thought and want the best for California. They're out there. I know that. I just have to find them and convince them that we have a plan to go to. Second is to educate and really educate the people of California as to what's really going on in Sacramento. Normally, you'll get people that go to Sacramento and they'll talk all this stuff. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And then when they get there, it's going to be quiet. You don't hear anything unless it's election season again, or it's something that makes them look good. What we're experiencing here because of COVID, I'm going to continue on a weekly basis as your assemblyman. So everybody in California can come down and see what, at least in one district, what is going on, what my experiences are, what I'm trying to do, what's holding things up, to get the information out, that you can get it out firsthand. That's what's important. Not reading it in the newspaper, not hearing it on the local news where they can just spin it to whatever they want, but to hear it from the horse's mouth. And that is very important, because then when you speak to somebody else, you know exactly whether they're lying or whether they've been fed misinformation. How can I help the schools? My ultimate goal to helping schools is to privatize every single school here in California. How do you go about doing that? Well, basically, I've had some time to think about it. And I don't care who takes charge of this idea. Just do it because it would help everybody. Is what you do is you start taking the lowest 10% of the schools in California and you start privatizing them slowly. And then you keep on moving up 10%. And this will allow the low income areas students to be able to get the education that they need. Because we know the best schools, they're doing well. Those students are being taken care of properly. So we don't have to worry about them. It's the low income areas, the poor neighborhoods that are being hurt the most. Those are the ones we have to fix. Until we can get that, we need to start working on legislation that allows parents to take their child to any school district, and the voucher that the government pays will follow that child. No longer should any parent be restricted to their zip code for schooling. Their parent, whatever school has room, they should be able to accept students, especially a public school whatsoever. And any schools that's failing whatsoever, and I mean really failing, and we know we could probably name a couple or two, they should be closed down. In San Jose, there are schools right now that are empty, not because of COVID. Pre-COVID, they were empty, they were closed down. How is that? Sacramento's always crying that they need money, they need money, they need money. But yet they're always spending money on these pet projects that have nothing to do with helping the people. We need to help the people. The government of Sacramento should be basically concentrating on two things. One, keeping the infrastructure running so the people can decide the fate of California and the future of California. And second, protecting our rights, our inalienable rights and our legal rights as well. Thank you.